Hello, everyone! Finally, we have made it to another opening night of the National Football League. It is Thursday, September 7th, 2023. Later tonight, on NBC, we're going to have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Detroit Lions. And there's been a couple of shakeups in the offseason that we're going to get to in this video. But we're going to predict how the season will end up. As you know, I'm going to go pick teams based on seeding and conferences. I'm going to start off with the tricky NFC, and it's going to be a little bit complicated, but I think I can figure this out. So, first up, I'm going to predict that your winner in the NFC East, best overall team in the conference, will be the defending NFC champion, Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to pick the Eagles, and I'm going to go with a logical record with the Eagles winning, and I'm going to go with 14 wins and 3 losses. All right, so I'm going to give them a fair number here. 14 wins, 3 losses. All right. Now, why am I going with that fair number? Because I'll explain the 2 seed in just a second. But you got to understand, the Eagles are hungrier than ever. They just went to the Super Bowl. They lost to Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs last year. And keep in mind, we're getting a Super Bowl rematch in the regular season. I don't even think that happens at all in the NFL nowadays, guys. But in terms of how hungry Jalen Hurts is going to be, they're going to really be hungry. And they have a good defense. You got to remember, the offense in the NFL is one of the best ranked overall this year. Defense is going to be hungry, and it's going to be very interesting what's going to happen with that NFC East. And I'll explain as we go along here. But yes, 14 wins, 3 losses for the Eagles. They will be your number 1 seed. Now for the 2 seed. The winner in the NFC West will be the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the only thing I'm going to say here is they will win with a record of 13-4, giving them the 2nd seed in the NFC Western Conference, NFC Western Division. But yes, 2nd in the NFC Conference, winning the NFC West. The only thing that I wonder is the quarterback situation. Now, you got good defense, and that's going to be a strength for San Francisco going into the season. But in terms of the quarterback situation, I will say this. Did anybody expect that, 2 quarterbacks on the roster got hurt? I mean, who expected that? And I'll explain the situation. All right? So, going into the season, they had a pretty good quarterback last year. Jimmy Garoppolo was their starting quarterback. All right? Then he got hurt. So, they had Trey Lance in. Now, Trey Lance, okay, you could say this or that. And, of course, you got Brock Purdy, who it's going to be iffy what happens with him because he hasn't looked that good in practice. So, they got Sam Darnold on the roster, which you got to remember, Sam Darnold's had a pretty rough ride in the NFL, and we know he was with the Carolina Panthers last season, so I think they'll figure it out with the quarterback, but I think you got to ride high with Purdy. And if you don't ride high with Brock, then I don't know, because Brock has been the man, and he got you that far when everybody was injured on that roster. So it's got to be Brock. I mean, who else is going to be your starter in that, for that team? It's clearly obvious here. Okay, so next up, this is going to be a tricky one here. But, this is going to be a big but. There's going to be a big win-loss margin in the NFC North. So for the third seed, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but this is a good reason. Your winner in the NFC Northern Division will be the Detroit Lions. Now, why am I going with Detroit this season? They had an epic offseason improving their defensive line. And you got to remember one thing. You know, this experimental trade where Jared Goff went to the Lions a couple years ago, and of course Matthew Stafford going to the Rams, where the Rams ended up winning the Super Bowl. I think this is the year the Lions have got to capitalize on it, because I think they've been building things up for Jared. I've really thought that for a while. And given the fact that Aaron Rodgers is no longer in this division, you're going to have a decent backup quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. You know, you got to think that the Lions have a team that can build on their momentum last year where they almost sneaked into the playoffs. So why not the Lions? Why can't they win this awful division? I think it's a terrible division. And I think the Lions should be your third seed. So they're going to end up winning. I'm going to go with 11 wins and 6 losses. 11-6 will get you this division. And I'll explain the wild cards in just a bit. And I'll explain why I'm going to go with the Vikings later on in this video. But yeah, we'll get into that in just a bit. But Detroit will win. And I think there's a chance that Goff is going to put up some crazy numbers this year. I don't know, guys. I just see Jared having this incredible season just because he's still young. He still has a lot to prove. And I'm riding high with the Lions winning that division this year. If they don't, and with the offseason they had improving their defense, then there's a chance that if things go well for the Lions, they could be hosting their first playoff game since 1994. So anything's possible. All right, and last but not least, this is going to be pretty tricky to figure out in the NFC South. I've been going back and forth. I've been thinking about it a lot. And I'm sorry if everybody's going to disagree with me, but I think right now, if I had to pick a team that could win their division, and given the fact that you got to remember one thing, out of all the teams in the NFC South that had the biggest offseason, I'm riding high with the Saints. Yep, call me crazy, but I'm going with the Saints. So, you got to remember one thing. The Saints have one of the best running backs in the league. You got Alvin Kamara. And in terms of your quarterback situation, you got to think that you're going to have to ride high with Derek Carr, who you got in the offseason. You got Jameis Winston as a decent backup quarterback. So, Derek Carr wanted out of Vegas. He admitted it, guys. He got his wish, and now he's going to the Bayou. Well, technically, he's going to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, but you get the gist of it, guys. I'm just telling you, I do not like this division. This division is terrible. What are you going to have with this division? What? Oh, Tampa Bay Buck fans have been grateful for Tom Brady. He called it quits, and now you're going to get Baker Mayfield. What's Baker Mayfield going to do? What's Baker going to do? He's going to do nothing. And then you got Carolina, who has a rookie quarterback. I'm not impressed with that roster. You got to remember one thing. If they had Christian McCaffrey on that Carolina team, You gotta remember, McCaffrey went to the 49ers. He's in a better situation over there on the West Coast. So, Falcons, come on, guys. Why would I go with the Falcons? You know, the Falcons do not have a good quarterback. Desmond Ridder, Tyler Heineke. They're going to go into the season with Desmond Ridder as their number one quarterback on the roster, guys. Guys, you got to think logical here. I'm riding high with the Saints as the 4th seed. Now, given how bad this division's going to end up, and I'm going to say it right now, the New Orleans Saints will win this division with a record of 8-9. The Carolina Panthers will only win 6 or 7 games. And the Falcons and the Bucks are probably going to end up winning 4 or 5 games. That's how bad this division is going to be. So I will go with the New Orleans Saints with a record of 8-9. They will get in. Carolina does not impress me. None of these other teams do other than the Saints. So I'm going to go with the Saints to win the NFC South. Alright? So now, let's go to our wild cards. So let's see who am I going to go with as an obvious 5 seed. I think if I have to go safe bet, I will go with the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks 5 seed. So I think they're probably going to end up winning 11 or 12 games to get that 5 seed. I think that's how it's going to end up. So, yeah. I think it's going to be Seattle. They're going to end up winning the wild card, the 5 seed. And I'm just going to be honest. I think Geno Smith's going to have a crazy season. Heck, who knows? Maybe things go crazier and they end up winning the division. You never know. So, that's where I see number 5. Again, I'm going to go with Seattle winning 12 or 11 games right there. Okay, next up, I'm going to be honest here. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I know it's going to be tricky to even think about it. I do not like the Cowboys. I'm not impressed by them. They don't have a good roster. They're not like the New York Giants. So I'm going to go with the New York Giants winning the 6th wild card spot, and they will win 11 games with that spot. Now, the reason why I am very impressed with the Giants going into the season is for a matter of factors. Alright? So, hopefully you got Sterling Shepard. Hopefully you got Darius Slayton. Hopefully you got Cole Beasley. I think Jamison Crowder is on the roster, if I am correct. Yeah, so Crowder is on the roster. So this is definitely a good roster. Tight end, you got to remember one thing. Tight end position, you're going to go with, I forget who the tight end is right now, but you got Saquon. I think right now Darren Walder's building himself up. So yeah, Saquon's still with the team. Why not the Giants? And why not win that amount of games, at least 11 games, to make the wild card? Because I'm sorry, I know what goes on with the Cowboys. They always end up being a disappointment. Oh, just because you still got Dak Prescott. What does that do for you? You need a good foundation. The Giants are clearly on that path right now. If they don't make the playoffs after the successful season they had last year, the Giants have got to keep building themselves up. They're still a young team, and I think they will get in. Okay, and last but not least, with a record of 10 wins, and 7 losses. It's going to be pretty close in that wild card. But I'm going to go with the Vikings. Skull Vikings. Yes. Now, why am I going to go with Minnesota? I just think that the Vikings will get in just because they have Kirk Cousins still. I think they will figure things out with the running back position. You know, that's been a pretty iffy situation right there. I don't want to go into it, further depth right now. I know it's been interesting to say the least. I think they should still figure things out. I don't know what the Kareem Hunt situation is going to be by this time this video comes out. We don't know where is he going to sign, or has already signed with someone. I can't predict because I'm recording this video way too far in the future. But I will say this, Vikings will figure it out, and I think they will end up sneaking into the NFL playoffs with a record of 10-7. So now that we got the NFC out of the way, we will now move on to the AFC. So first, obvious, I'm going to go with the number 1 seed in the conference. I'm going to go with Kansas City winning 15 games. Yep. So that would be a record of 15-2. Kansas City, again, is Kansas City. Of course, they got Pat Mahomes. They got the almighty roster. They're going to end up being the super team again, like they always do. They just won the Super Bowl last year, and they won the Super Bowl 3 years ago. So, it's Kansas City, guys. What else dare they say? They always find a way to figure things out in Kansas City. You still got Travis Kelce, one of the best tight ends. You got Marquez Scantling. You got Kadarius Toney, Rashee Rice. Running backs, that's a good question about the Chiefs. So Pacheco is going to prove himself. He just won the Super Bowl last year. So yeah, I will say this right now. Kansas City wins 15 games. That's just the way they work. They're going to be your 1 seed, all right? So end of discussion, guys. We're done here. You don't need to go anywhere else. Okay, next up with a record of 13-3, I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC East. Sorry, Jet fans. I know you got Aaron Rodgers, but, Buffalo was a better team. They always figure things out. It's like the window for them to make the Super Bowl, I don't know how many years they have, but they have to eventually because they've built a good foundation in Buffalo. The Bills can be a Super Bowl team this year. I really want to see them beat the Bengals and the Chiefs. I think it's time for a change overall in the NFL. I think the Bills have a good chance. You still got Stephon Diggs, one of the best wide receivers. You still have James Cook as a good running back. And defense, yeah, I know the Damar Hamlin situation was so unfortunate last year, guys, but I'm just going to say this right now. You got to understand that they still got a good defense. So I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. They will be your 2 seed. Now, next up, we will end up going to the AFC North. All right, so let's go with the North. And with the record, I'm going to give a fair number here. Let's go with 12 wins and 5 losses. I will end up picking the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, You got Joe Burrow. You still got a good roster. You know, if things go crazy in the AFC conference this year, I could see the Bills and the Bengals battling it out for the 2-3 seed. Because remember, you're not chasing Kansas City. Unless something crazy happens in Kansas City, then I don't know. I mean, remember, this is the NFL. Injuries can happen. So, Mahomes is still playing at an elite level. But you still got Joe Burrow. Again, there was almost a scare this season, guys, in training camp. But he's going to be okay. And you got to remember one thing about Cincinnati. They still have T. Higgins. They still got Jamari Chase. And running back-wise, you still got Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is a good running back. So the Bengals are going to have a good season. There's no question about that. So 12-4 should be a very fair number. 12-5, excuse me. Wow, I'm going with the old numbers. 12-5 should be a good number. And that's where I'm going to leave it from there. All right. And last but not least, with a record of 11-6, I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, bye-bye, Urban Meyer. He's no longer coaching in Duval. Alright, that was the situation last year. Doug Peterson, first year in Jacksonville, changed the culture over there. Trevor Lawrence had a better season. Alright, now you got Calvin Ridley. The offensive line has improved. It's going to be a fun season in Jacksonville. I could definitely see things going way differently over there. Alright. Now, let's keep in mind with the Titans, you got to remember one thing. Ryan Tannehill is no longer with the team. Or supposedly is with the team. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Because remember, the Titans drafted a QB. They drafted Will Levis. So it's like, who's starting week 1? Is it going to be Tannehill? Is it going to be Levis? That's what I'm saying. Does it feel like Ryan Tannehill is on the team? Does it feel that way, guys? I don't know if it does. To me, it doesn't. And also keep this in mind. Derrick Henry, I'm laughing right now, went to San Francisco. So it's like, come on. Okay. Now we're done talking about that. Let's get into my wild cards, all right? So, I think as a safe bet, and I'm going to go with my Baltimore Ravens here, I think they will win the first wild card. So, Ravens are going to end up winning the first wild card with a record of 11-6. Now, I'm only saying this because Lamar Jackson has to stay healthy. I said that last year in my prediction video. Now we're going into that same notion this year, guys. It's like Lamar got hurt in 2021. Lamar got hurt in 2022. And here we are again. Lamar somehow looks good in training camp. But what happens if things turn south? I'm glad they got Odell Beckham. I'm glad the running back situation's getting resolved. Because you know how Harbaugh is a running back hungry guy. He loves the run game. He's adapted to it with Lamar the past couple of seasons. So, I would hope that Todd Monken, the new offensive coordinator, is going to figure this out. I think he should. But it's really going to, it's really going to be interesting. If the Ravens can keep Lamar healthy, this should be an 11-6 team that can make the playoffs. So that's where I'm going to see this ending up, guys. All right. Okay, so next up, we're going to go with the New York Jets. So the Jets, hopefully, I'm hoping I'm right about this. The New York Jets will make the playoffs with a record of 10-7. So the New York Jets have built up the roster very well. Now, remember, last year, they got lucky with a very good draft class with wide receiver Garrett Wilson and one of the best defensive players, Sauce Gardner. They had crazy rookie years last year. And, you know, you got to remember one thing. Let's say something happens to Aaron Rodgers. Because remember, he's an old man. He's old, but he's smart. He's wise. He's known the game for a while. You have to hope that Zach Wilson can back him up in a good way. I would hope so. But if Aaron Rodgers can have a good season, I could see this Jet team winning 10 games and still making the playoffs. It's still possible. I could see that definitely happening. Or maybe even 11 wins if they get lucky. So things have to go right for the Jets. I think they will this season. Now, I've been thinking about this a lot. Who could I pick as my third team? Now, I'm not really a big believer in Miami. I just don't like the running back situation in Miami. Devontae Adams, Raheem Mostert. I know Miami has Tyreek Hill, but I'm not impressed with Toya. Tagovailoa just does not impress me as much. Unless the narrative changes in Miami, I'm not going to ride high here. Who else could I see somewhat getting lucky and somewhat hitting the jackpot this season? And I'm going to make a good reference here, guys. I'm going to make a crazy prediction. But I think Bronco Country will make the playoffs. You heard me correctly. Bronco Country will make the playoffs. So, with a record of 9-7. Oh, my bad. 9-8. Man, I'm so confused with my numbers. It will be the Denver Broncos just barely sneaking in on the cups of the playoffs. You know, this is something that the Broncos have got to do here. You brought in Russell Wilson. You have to make the playoffs this season. What are we doing with him? What are we doing with him? They're asking in Denver. You're going to make it in as a 9-8 team. I'm just not impressed by the Browns. I'm sorry, but unless something changes in Cleveland too, the only other teams I could see getting that last wild card right now, if I had to go with three in the top of my head, would be Denver, Cleveland, and Miami. But I'm going to go with Denver just because I want to make this crazy notion that something crazy will happen in the NFL and somebody's going to make the playoffs with a 9-8 record, just like how the New Orleans Saints are going to win their division with an under 500 record. The only other logical team that I could bring into the discussion would be the Los Angeles Chargers. So make that a fourth team, everyone. So that's your seventh pick right there. Okay, I think I've gone on. I'm done here. That's how I see this NFL season ending up. And you know what, guys? It's going to be fun to watch. I am excited. This is going to be a crazy season coming up. And I really want to hope that my Ravens will do well. I really have a lot of expectations for a playoff team. But again, Lamar has to stay healthy. And as I said, the one thing I want to see, again, New York Giants. I want to see them back in the playoffs. I want to see the Jets ride high with Rodgers. And I want to see Wilson make it in with the Broncos. I want to see that. And more importantly, that's all I'm going to say. That's what I want to see in this season. All right, guys? So that's pretty much it. We're going to have a crazy game tonight again between Kansas City and Detroit to start off the season. So I cannot wait for that to start. That's going to be a good game. You know, two teams that are expected to have good seasons are matching up against each other. That's going to be fun to watch. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching. Enjoy the season. And until the next one, please take care.